Lancaster and the White Rose of York. Such emblems were worn not only by the followers of the two rival royal houses, but by all the servants of the nobility and greater gentry, and the forces of York and Lancaster and their allies were evenly balanced, with the result that after 15 years of fighting, the crown had changed hands twice between Henry VI and his rival Edward of York, who had declared himself Edward IV. Their final showdown came at Tewkesbury in Gloucestershire in May 1471. Edward, young, warlike, charismatic, and supported by both his brothers, the 21-year-old George, Duke of Clarence, and Richard, Duke of Gloucester, who was 18, was determined to annihilate the House of Lancaster. The battle turned into a massacre, leaving thousands dead on the field. It was a decisive victory for York. Many of the Lancastrians fled to Tewkesbury Abbey, where they took refuge in the church. Edward and his men then burst in. According to the official account, Edward behaved with exemplary decorum, pardoning the fugitives and offering up solemn thanks at the high altar for his victory. But the unofficial account tells a shocking story. Edward and his men began to slaughter the Lancastrians. A lucky few were saved by a priest holding the Holy Sacrament in his hands. Edward then recovered control of the situation by issuing pardons to his defeated enemies. But enough blood had been spilt to pollute the church and to require its reconsecration. The Yorkists claimed that the Prince of Wales had died in the carnage of the battlefield, but darker rumours had it that he had been taken prisoner and murdered by Clarence and Richard. A day or two later, despite his solemn pardon, Edward ordered the beheading of most of the remaining Lancastrian leaders. Now only the life of the feeble Henry VI stood between Edward and an unchallenged grasp of the throne. On the 21st of May, Edward entered the city of London in triumph. That night, Henry VI was murdered in the Tower of London. Only one man is named as being present in the Tower at the time: Edward's brother, Richard, who was emerging as the most effective hatchetman of the Yorkist regime. As he struck the fatal blow, he is supposed to have said, "Now there is no heir male of King Edward III, but we of the House of York." Now surely the Wars of the Roses were over. No one, a Yorkist chronicle exulted, of the stock of Lancaster remained among the living, who could claim the throne. But one Lancastrian claimant, however remote, did remain: Henry Tudor. 14 years had passed since Margaret had had her son, but not even the massive walls of Pembroke Castle could protect the boy against the vengeful power of Edward of York, and his mother urged him to flee. He crossed the Channel to Brittany, and there Henry had to endure a decade and a half of politically fraught exile before he would see either England or his mother again. Edward of York was now King Edward IV of England indeed, but the problem of nobles, who were almost as rich and powerful as the king himself, remained. And richest and most powerful of all was Edward's middle brother, George, Duke of Clarence, the man Shakespeare described as false, fleeting, perjured Clarence. The phrase is misleading. It suggests that the key to Clarence's story lies in his character defects. It doesn't. It lies in his position. For Clarence was what Queen Elizabeth I, who would occupy the same unenviable place herself, called second person. Endowed with vast estates and many grand castles, he kept what he called his court, with a state that was indeed royal. Only the life of Edward himself, and in time Edward's two sons, stood between Clarence and the throne itself. Some second persons were content to remain merely loyal lieutenants. Clarence was not one of them. He had a power over the king that was at once malicious and deeply harmful to the peace of England. Clarence's knowledge, should he choose to reveal it, concerned the future of the House of York itself, for it related to his sister-in-law, Elizabeth. Elizabeth Woodville was one of the most controversial women ever to have been Queen of England. She was beautiful, ambitious, greedy, and a widow of modest background, on her father's side at least. Edward first met her when she petitioned him about a problem with her late husband's estate. Edward, young, handsome, and sensual,